I saw her the moment that she walked into the library. Jesus, that's cliche. That's so cliche.
I could feel his eyes on me, and I just remember thinking that I must have really looked as tired as I felt. I had spent the entirety of the night on the phone with my mother, explaining how much I didn't like this school and these people, and how I had taken up smoking cigarettes in a sad and shallow attempt to make friends. And my parents told me that I wasn't making an effort, and I told my family that there was no point in it if my efforts didn't go anywhere. And my family responded that that was the attitude that landed me in the position I was in the first place, and that I should try and just have an experience, if anything. And I told them that they didn't understand that going to your last resort college in a city you found strange and isolating wasn't an experience. It was a sputtering, dying engine that was somehow able to keep you just barely going, assisted by caffeine, weed, and the occasional Adderall.
She looked bored. Really bored. Which I was taking personal offense to, as she casually flipped through Taipei with as much vigor as the characters in the actual book would, which is like totally not getting the point of the whole book, in my opinion.
I looked up to see him trying very hard to search things on his computer, and I imagined that he was looking at porn. I don't know why. It's really not that he strikes me as a guy who just casually watches porn in public spaces, but I think it was just because he looked so gentle and inquisitive and everything I was not, that it just felt so right to have him doing something so predictable.
I imagined us as characters in that book, and how we kind of already were, because the main character studies in Bobst a lot, and I imagined us being like those characters in the book and recording ourselves while on different drugs and walking around Brooklyn at 3 a.m. and studying together and smoking in bed together with only sheets and underwear separating us.
That's a good book, he said.
Yeah, she responded.
It's really interesting how...
I actually don't really like it. That or I just don't get it, she admitted. I don't know which. I think maybe I just don't care enough. She finished, then wiped a stray piece of hair out of her face. I always hated it when girls did that. During a drunken conversation with my roommate a few nights ago, I had talked quite openly about how girls who fiddled with their hair too much annoyed me, because it's like, Jesus, just pull it up. I don't really need you to constantly be flipping in my face. But for some reason, her little hair gesture reminded me of the gentle lappings of the branches on trees, especially at night.
Do you not care a lot? He asked.
I think so, she responded, almost laughing. I mean, I used to care a lot more, but since being here, it's weird. Because, I don't know. I'm just finding it hard to connect to anything.
No, yeah, I get it, he said. Even though there are so many cool people, you end up feeling kind of apathetic. I guess because it's so overwhelming. He shrugged, like maybe his statement was irrelevant, but it was so relevant.
Her eyes grew a bit, and she put down her book, signaling that this was a start to an actual conversation. Yeah, I've actually watched all of Orange is the New Black and Breaking Bad while I've been here, and I haven't even left Manhattan. I feel really lame, she finished with a sheepish smile.
You should take the ferry in Brooklyn sometime. It's really fun. You can see all of Manhattan, and it's pretty cool, he said. And immediately I pictured us on this ferry, and we were laughing and free, and our hair was getting everywhere, and...
It would be too cold, but we would both think it was worth it to be out there, because...
The gentle lappings of the water would be so hypnotic and peaceful.
And the view was really too fantastic to be soiled by scratched-up glass.
And maybe I would finally tell him how lonely I felt, but not really anymore because of him.
And I would tell her how her voice made me think of the color pink, like the pink of rose petals, and...
And then his phone buzzed.
It was my girlfriend. Shit, I was supposed to meet her 10 minutes ago.
Shit, sorry. I didn't mean to keep you.
No, it's my fault. But you should, take the ferry sometime. It's really cool.
And then he left.
I regretted leaving so abruptly. I didn't even get her name.
I cried after he went, right there at the table. Not sobbing, but hard enough that people started to notice. And I didn't really care because it felt like that time last winter when my father started to tear up at the dinner table for no reason.
But I knew I'd remember her. I would remember the faint smell of nicotine on her, mixed with incense, and the way her collarbones peeked through, and the leaf-like hair and the pink voice and the sexy figure that was underneath. And how maybe it was good that I saw her this way and fell in love with her, and the memory she would leave, and none of it would be soiled, like so often how things in this world are by knowing.
I took the ferry out the next weekend. By myself, of course. But it was nice, because looking down at the gentle lapping waves, so immensely beautiful in its consistent sameness and therefore rhythmic reliability, and though I thought that the crystalline blue and froth looked quite tempting to jump into, I also thought about the vast, expansive, massive buildings, and therefore people in front of me. I think about taking baths like when I was a little girl. I think about David Foster Wallace's This Is Water, and how it always makes me cry and makes me try and be a more optimistic person. I think about the moment in my body, hair whipping past my face, and feeling like I may not be totally hopeless with boys and therefore everyone. I think about dying, and how I'm not ready for it because there are so many buildings with so many people and not enough of them know me yet. I think about Taipei, which I finished, and ended up thinking about a lot. I think about how the loneliness does not feel like that, instead just being alone and looking for beauty in strangers who will not disappoint me. I think about how I'm learning to like myself more, and how much nicer my teeth look when I don't smoke cigarettes. I am reminded of the Tao Lin quote, "Loneliness can fly a helicopter through a cutout shape of a helicopter the same size as the helicopter, and that's its only skill. And it isn't good enough, but it's still amazing."
Hate runs through my blood. Well, my tongue was in love.